because people, I feel like people have a misconception of people who study these things that we study and look into like they think that like like niggas is talking about some spooky you know, fantasy kind of like, you know, make believe shit. And that is the case. I don't know like what type of image that people, you know, project in their head when it comes to people who are studying things that's metaphysical, things that's beyond, you know, physical touch. I could just, you know, whatever. If I don't see it, it's like very ignorant, you know. Um, air is one of the things that is evidence of things that we can't see. Like our eyes will fool us to have us, you know, a little ignorant to believe that the world is just what we see, and it's not. Um, I'm not beyond the possibilities of thinking about things, um, different things of existence. Like we go to sleep and we have dreams. We have these things that it could be a memory, it could be deja vu or whatever it is, and it's like we go to sleep and we wake up and we have an experience, but we was in our physical body. What the fuck were you at? Like you came up with something in your head that you're able to regurgitate physically out your mouth of a memory or a event or something like that. Yet you were suspended from your body. Where the fuck were you at? People have dreams where they go see people, or people see them, and stuff like that. You're not in your body. Come on, son. Like everybody, a lot of people is in denial of the possibility of things beyond the physical because either we scared or we don't have no control over it, or it's overwhelming. But we deny ourselves sanity and consistency with reality when we forsake these things and we like I guess X Files. I want to believe, you know. Um, one thing we was talking about earlier that had me that gave me a notion of thought, like a title or something. Is like sympathy for the prophet, you know, because we're talking about the prophets. They go through it. Uh, Prophets in the Bible, the Quran, the Tanakh, all that stuff, where it's hard headed motherfuckers was not trying to get the point across of what was going on. It's causing the prophets grief, and all they was trying to do is be the I think the word arbiter.
Mm.
God just trying to do what God wanted them to do, and then people just, I mean, a lot of people they didn't make it. You know, Noah was like, "Hey y'all, you know, got a notion we should dip. You know, some shit going on. Like, you know, you're talking about everybody dead." um, I was looking for a note because when I was in school, I was looking to validate some things, and they talked about prophets. I really want to find it. I do have this paper right here that I did about uh, angels, biblically, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring this up a little later, but people, Chris, people look at people who study astrology as like kooky people who just like think that you know, a lot of people have an ignorance of astrology, thinking that I was born on a certain day, so my whole life is dictated by this one fact. I was born March 20th, so I am a Aries, and like, you know, I'm always aggressive and stuff like that. Like, no, you're not always aggressive. You cry about stuff, and and you get anxious about something, or you have fears. It's different. People are very superficial. You know, I even say spiritually superficial. We got people who would go no further of their studies than looking at a chart. If you was talking about it the other day about where's that paper? Let me find the paper. That shit blew me too when you talked about it. Um, just had a sheet. Is it in here? No, it's not in here. In fact, what I'm looking for is probably in here. Let me see. Give it to you real quick. No, where is my notebooks? I just saw it too. So I was pulling up a basic astrological chart where people are just going by the basic shit that you see. So, perfect example. This is people's experience with astrology. In my experience, they pick up a little book. I got this book from Five Below. I picked it up because I saw other things in it that was very instrumental. And people will go right here, they'll look at a page, and this is the sum total of their understanding of astrology.
For a fact.
They look at, sun sign. So, you're like this, you're like that. And I had to find out for myself that, I'm going to say it, your sun sign is not your personality. That is your talent. Now, we can do a lot more when we understand the fundamental sun sign, because in the 70s, they gave us the pop culture version of it. They only gave us one sign. Do you know that there's 9 other things to consider? So, we do much better when we go a little bit more into the nooks and crannies of things. But people stop at, face value things and stuff like that. And it's so the sun sign, just to kick this off right here, right? The sun sign is your talent. People will do better. People have a way better means of survival if they understood that your talent is kind of thing God gave you to be able to survive and sustain yourself. Everybody knew, okay, I'm good at organizing papers. Maybe I should go be someone's secretary, or maybe I should go work at a mail post office. I'm good at I don't know, I like shoveling. That's like my shit. Nobody can out shovel me. Go apply your skill somewhere where it is something that's going to get you to where you want to be. Because your talent doesn't really necessarily need to be what you do for your living in life. It just gets you from one place to another. We got the prophet and the Bible and the Quran, all that other all that. What was it? The name he got renamed to Israel. You know what I'm talking about. 12 tribes of the father of all the 12 tribes.
Abram to Abraham?
No, not Abraham. The other one, the one who had the 12 kids.
King Jacob.
I think it was Jacob, because Jacob got turned his name to Israel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jacob had a talent. Jacob had dreams. You got next to the king, and the king got next to him, and he was like, "Hey, look, I got you. This is what I'm gonna do for you. This one." So your talent is not necessarily what you're gonna be doing for the rest of your life. Your talent is to get you to the door to wherever you need to be. That's like an entryway ticket. If you don't know your talent, you're probably gonna be go through a couple throws. But people have the misconception, and people, I have the opinion, a lot of people are disoriented and intellect. Not calling people like stupid or dumb or whatever, but they're like approaching things, and they think they're standing on things where they're not really standing upward and perpendicular. Some people foundations is crooked. I learned that this amazing book that I keep bringing up right here, The Nature of Astrology. Bruce Schofield gave me a big understanding about how our thoughts are oriented and shaped, and how it's been shaped. And we get into it later about how astrology fell out of favor, but the big thing was the collective way of looking at things. And when things reemerged back in the 70s about astrology on the popular thing, it came from a very very I think the word is myopic.
Myopic standpoint.
Yeah, like it was very they took one real small basic part about it and misappropriated and said this is the entirety of everything of astrology, and that's not I mean it's not how it is. Um, I wanted to say something else before we go forward with this shit, right? People want to say astrology is bullshit. Astrology don't work. Astrology is blah blah blah. I don't believe in astrology. But if that's the case, all the technology that's associated with astrology needs to be unused. And you should go about, if you don't believe in astrology, you need to stop using the technology that was created using astrology. I mean, stop using clocks and stop using calendars, because all that stuff is based off the movements of stellar bodies. I got this picture pattern. Let me say it properly so you understand. These tools that we use, calendars and clocks, are based off stellar bodies. So that's try to enunciate everything, but they're based off the movement of celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, Mercury, things like that. As far as physiological um things that's in the sky that overwhelmingly have an effect on us, right? So we got the sun. Let's use the sun since everybody wants to be, well, so let's look at the sun and how it affects us physiologically, physically, and stuff like that. When that sun moves in a different position in the sky, the seasons change. You can see the evidence of astrology with the movement of just one stellar body, the sun. Every 30 something some odd days, we go from one mode of a season to another. Every 30 days. Every 3 months we go from one what word I want to use, temperament of the seasons to another. You can't deny that. Now, when the sun appears in a certain part of the sky, we want to identify the location of it because you need to be oriented in reality to know where the fuck you at and what's going on. You need context. Astrology gives us context for reality. It's not just to say, oh, uh, uh, I don't like Sagittariuses or I don't like Libras, because it's not just about personality. People have to challenge to think bigger about the utility of astrology beyond, no, I don't get along with someone, or I'm not going to find my wife or nothing like that. No, it's a tool to understand nature. People, bro, it fucked my head up so much to keep in mind that the stars is part of nature. We don't even gotta get metaphysical from there. We can just start basic natural science. We can agree that nature is real. Nature is a physical. If I go outside and rub my arm around poison ivy, guess what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get fucked up. So the same kind of um um objective reality that nature has right here, the only difference between certain things is distance, right? So we got things like air, we all breathe the same air. You in New York, we probably have different quality, but it's all around, like how we talk about we all in the fishbowl or something. The stars are in the same place that we are. I could agree. We go outside, we can go see some. It's all just because it's far. We go outside on the sunny day. I put my hand out. I'm gonna feel that sun. That bitch is far. So just because we can't feel it and we can't see it, doesn't mean it doesn't have some type of. It doesn't render effect. It doesn't. It doesn't compel some type of presence. You know, we just we also gotta keep in mind, bro. We live in a reality with spectrums. I mean, we live in a. I mean, we got fucking X-ray, radar, infrared, all the ultraviolet. We can't see all this. Our eyes can't see everything. That. I mean, it's no. Our eyes can only see and our ears can only hear so much. You know, and like I said, everything that we just because we don't feel it doesn't mean it's not present. So these stars, and all these stellar bodies and stuff, they render an effect on it shows, it renders evidence here, just like when the sun moves and stuff like that. The moon, all that other stuff. We skipped the part where astrology is is dead ass in nature, you know. I don't think we even touching nature like we should be for real. That's why people's just like, I don't know. I'm just rapping at this point for that, but
yeah, and I could bounce off that point as well too, because especially because you talked on a lot. Let me just break it down in my own words when it comes to it. And I got some examples that I'm gonna put on screen for people to see too, because I talked to you about this the other day as well. When it comes towards this idea of people not having a really developed idea of what astrology means, and all they really do know is their sun sign. And at most, it's like I feel like it's three levels. It's first, you know absolutely nothing about astrology. You might think it's a spookism, right? And then you might get into level one. You might learn your star sign, aka your sun sign, aka what zodiac season you were born under. After you get to that point, you might jump into another layer where you might start looking into astrology. You might start watching videos. You might looking at tarot astrology, numerology. You might get to that phase where you start looking into divination and all that stuff. And when you get there, you might learn about your big three, which is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising. And at this point right here is where I'd say like 95% of people who are ordinary, who don't do this for a living, that's like the farthest extent they will get into astrology. If you get any further than that, I'd probably consider you an astrologer at that point, with the way the society is working right now. So speaking of just bare minimum, the bare basic, let's say you know nothing about astrology and then you start learning, and somebody asks you your sun sign, for example. Your sun sign is like John said, is gonna be basically the astrological season that you were born under. And if you break it down in the season, let's say you're in Aries, that's basically mean you were born during the first month of spring, first portion of spring, basically. Astrology doesn't line up exactly one to one. Like the first day of every season is not the first day of March, nor does it end on the 30th of March. It doesn't line up, but we don't need to necessarily get into the dates right now.
let's get into it at some point because
As
I got smoke for the calendar.
oh, for a fact. When it comes towards like your personality, right? And coming to your sun sign, I don't necessarily have myself a problem with people saying that your sun sign is your personality. What I have a problem with is what you associate your sign to mean, or what do you associate somebody else's sign to mean. Because there's so much pop culture um things about how people say about a sign. For example, Gemini, people say Gemini is two-faced. That's not a very descriptive idea of what makes a Gemini two-faced, or why are they two-faced. Leos are what's another one? All
Arrogant,
Capricorn are
flamboyant,
are arrogant, flamboyant,
show offs.
show offs, things of that nature and intent too. And when you think, and again, for the majority of people, this is all they know about astrology, that these little
I don't
premises
take
and
no shit. I'm a
quotes.
Taurus.
And as soon as you have a bad experience with somebody, you immediately say it's their sign. If you had a bad relationship with somebody, oh, what's your sign of Taurus? All Tauruses must be like that. They must all be like that because I had a bad experience with this one Taurus. Or oh, my mom was very stingy growing up with me when it comes to money. That means all Aquariuses must be stingy like that too. The amount of posts you will see, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, people making posts like that on a daily basis, because when they come in new to astrology, that's all they know and they believe, because that's how pop culture pushes it right now.
Not knowing that they have a Mars affliction or a Venus affliction. They're like, what the fuck is an affliction? It was like people, I think don't, one, don't value education like they should no more. Two, people don't study. Three, people don't read. But you put in front of some people, it probably for a typical person, in my opinion, it's probably the most they get unless they really interested. And then now they want to invest in either buy books or actually invest their time. A lot of people in our society I don't think they even feel like they have the time to even study and actually go look into things deeper. So they just take things, just like when we watch news, we just get the blurb. And also, it's a curated blurb. So if you're not going to go look for it, it's like hip hop back in the day when hip hop was fire. You had to go, and this with old heads, so you had to go find those tapes. You have to go find that underground artist, actually go see what it's about. If you don't see it and it doesn't really come your way, you might not be able to get the experience and exposure you get. So which you stuck with some superficial bullshit. Unless you go seek that shit out. You know?
And that's a big part of it too, because I actually made a video that was on my heart. Let me see if I could share my screen real quick to show y'all something. It's gonna help towards my example. Because John talked a lot about the Bible, and I had recently made a post on my page, on my Facebook page. And let's see if I can pull it up. And it really speaks towards what we're really talking about right here, right now. I was on my, all right, let me pull this up. Let me share my screen. Share screen. This is my Facebook group, Astrology Universe. Anybody want to find out? We got 658 members now. Okay, let's go find my post. People post here from time to time. I don't really check up on them too much. I kind of let people post what they want. But here, I had a video right here. Astrology demonic. This lady in this video right here was speaking about how she used to be an astrologer. And when she discovered, when she got so deep, is that astrology has demons associated with it. So I'm just like, what? That's insane. Let's make a video talking about it in more detail. And in this video, I break down, I'm gonna skip through it a little bit and forward so people can see. I'm not gonna turn on the sound. I'm here quoting Bible verses. I got Bible verses popping up on the screen, talking about where in the Bible we see the use of astrology. What verses come from the beginning of Genesis for let them be for signs, seasons, and days, and for years. That's the first one. In the book of y'all can hear?
I can hear you. We just don't hear the video. You say you
Okay. There's a verse right here where this is where they use it to find Jesus. And when they heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. These are the three kings.
That's another
prize
thing.
Win.
My bad. I got triggered. If you don't believe in astrology, stop using compasses too. You can't be able to. You don't even know the direction. You can't orient yourself with direction without locating a celestial body or something up in the sky or the heavens.
And that's a point I made. Try to make specifically clear with this video that most of the people's understanding of astrology comes from misunderstanding, because we live, especially if you live in a first world country, there's this, well, technically all countries, if something is not specifically taught in your schools, it is not taught in your workplace, if it's not taught in your religions, by default, if it is not pushed out to these places, it must be demonic, it must be spookism, it must be unreal. There has to be this confirmation bias that goes along with people having to see something readily available and of the use of other people before it is considered to be fact. And when you get to the point where you realize and you do research for yourself, you come to realize that this science, this is not only a science, this was used, like I just proved, in your Bibles. It's in this. Yeah.
I was going to read the definition of confirmation bias because I got it on my wall. I was looking for it. We tend to listen only to information that confirms our preconceptions. One of the many reasons it is so hard to have an intelligent conversation about blank. Insert your blank. Oh, astrology.
Yep. For a fact. Let's see. And you think this only applies to the common person, because it is fine. Like, for example, this is another group that I'm in where people will ask basic question: does anyone see struggles with alcoholism in this chart? And this is an anonymous member in this group. I don't have their birth time. I'm thinking the T-square to Neptune is a big indicator. These are people in these groups just asking questions and seeing if people can help. This is healthy. This is a healthy way of doing it. If you don't know anything and you don't know what alcoholism points to in the chart, you don't know what anger points to in the chart, you don't know what abuse points to in the chart, this is a good way for people to come and put their information out there, look at a chart. Like, for example, let's just break this down real quick. Alcoholism, you could say that would apply to the sign of Pisces. In this person's chart,
First thing I was looking at, the person's a Pisces ascendant.
and they have Mars in Pisces as well. That could point towards self-alcoholism. And they have Chiron there. Chiron is wounds. Chiron points to things you can't control. You cannot control, or you have difficulties or wounds regarding to alcohol addiction. That's just two particular things I pointed out right then and there. And you wouldn't even know that if you didn't know anything about astrology, because if you see this planet right here, that's called the sun. They have the sun in Aquarius. Off just knowing your sun in Aquarius, that doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. You wouldn't know that unless you asked the question and came to a place to learn that information on your own. This is why for the majority of people right here right now, they're not at a point yet, because if the information isn't directly pushed to you, again, from your schools, your workplace, your religions, you don't have a need to learn it. For those who want to get into the science, who have this fundamental understanding that, wait a minute, you're telling me that these stars in the heaven can somehow tell me about my life and it be accurate? Once you have like that little spark in yourself that, oh wait, I can learn more about myself. Once you personally have that spark, you're going to want to go digging deeper to find it. But here's where the problem lies. As John was bringing it up earlier, people have biases, not only in their way they're thinking. Astrologers have biases too. Majority of these astrologers on the internet
too, and they also have they walk in with skepticism. Some people walk in to want to be wrong. Some people want things to be wrong. Some people want things to be right. And sometimes, reality generally accommodate what they want to the umpteenth degree, to the point where it's disadvantageous, I guess I could say. People out here, bro, who they want to create a result, and not sometimes they go to the length of it not being a genuine result. They just want, like, I was reading in this book, it's an encyclopedia of parapsychology, where in the early days of people studying all this stuff, people used to really put a little Scooby-Doo kind of thing, where they rig the whole situation, they make the tables float and do all that other shit and everything like that. They want people want to force something to be right or force something to be wrong, whereas, like, when it comes to the studying certain things, stuff like that, I think that's the thing in metaphysics, where people would, it's actually it's called the confounding variable. I think that's what it's called, where you kind of like, you kind of like threw the shit off by actually trying to force a result. You're supposed to just kind of get what you see out of it and move with it. But people, I mean, the mind is very interesting the way it functions.
And here's an example too of how astrologers, in their own biases, in their own perspective of how to do a chart, will get things wrong. Here's a post I made a couple of days ago. It was this is a chat called Death in Astrology. So I thought this would be a very, astute place to post this. Wounds and death associated with the 8th house. In medical astrology, each sign is associated with a functional part of the body, which is true. The 8th house points to wounds and eventual cause of death, right? This part right here is where a massive amount of people had problems. But I even said, but one's death is usually connected with a transit going on, aka where the planets are in the sky right now. Off you're looking at somebody's birth chart, you cannot necessarily tell the day or when a person is going to pass, but you can for a fact tell what kind of wounds they will have. So I go by and so I tell them this combination is useful in accurately finding one's ascendant, but can also apply to their sun sign. So even if you don't know your time of birth, you don't know your ascendant, I could use this method off your sun sign. Because when people say, for example, you're an Aries, right? And Aries are just anger or egotistical. That's not enough to describe an Aries, right? You can actually depending on what system or method you use, there are particular traits that will only apply to an Aries that you can use to better describe what it really takes to be an Aries sun sign, or what it really takes to be an Aries rising. So I go here through the list and I try to put out some points. Aries sun and Aries ascendant at some point of their life will have a wound, injury, or affection to their genital area because they have Scorpio in their 8th house. Let's read another one. I did Cancer, Sun, and Ascendant. At some point in their life will have a wound, injury, or affection to their ankles, comma, be in a car accident, comma, fall from a great height, comma, be electrocuted because they have Aquarius in 8th house. And I did this for basically every sign.
Or their shin. Their shin too.
It could be their shin as well. Pisces will have wound, injury, affection to their bladder area because they have Libra in 8th. Now, there was extra stuff I could have added, but I did this at work real quick because I wanted to get the information out there. Now, this got a lot of buzz. It's got 89 comments. And going through the comment section, let's see. Let me prove some things. First, let's talk about the good things here. Gemini ascendant. This person right here, Gemini ascendant. And I just broke both of my elbows over this summer. And my daughter's a Virgo Sunday, and she was born with a brain bleed, for example. Another great observation, because if you're a Gemini, you will have Capricorn in the 8th house. That is your bones. Those are your shins, things of that nature to tend to. This one person said credit should be given to the creator, your teacher, COZMOPHYSICIAN. I'm glad this person made this comment right here too. See, people use this method. I'm never said I was the originator of this method, but I'm going to highlight this right here, right now.
People are dickheads like that. I mean, no offense to the person, but it's like, we're students. We're students of people who we're thankful for. What type of we know the type of person who would not give credence or any type of homage to where they learned their stuff from. Is pretty what's the word I want to use? Not just arrogant, but what's that shit called? That shit just not cool. I think that person, in my opinion, I don't know this person from shit, but that was kind of uncool what they said too, as if you're trying to run with the game.
You know? No, I know, and it's like I've seen this person. This person is actually, I think they're a member in my group. I've seen them before. I've had live streams and they've been on it before, so that's the reason why they know and say me. And again, I'm not necessarily, nowhere in my post did I make that I was the originator of this method or things or anything like that nature and intent too, but this was just my way of giving some free information out to people so they can see if it really applies to them outside myself. And people like his, Mooj, this person right here, I can't pronounce the name. These are very accurate to my experience and observations. So there are people who really will claim this stuff works. But here are some other posts like this. This guy right here. Yeah, this one doesn't fly, bud. It's not that simple. This guy right here, another person. This is dangerous misinformation to spread and you must stop immediately. Posts like these are the reason why people stay terrified. Stop.
Let me snuff them real quick. I'm gonna stop. This one book right here, this shit right here, chapter 9, the church, society, and astrology. Quote: in regards to practicing the art of astrology, diaries, and such divine things, the Holy Spirit laughs when astrologers declare the things that will happen in the future. In such future contingencies, acquisitive and random events prevent knowledge of the devil's operation to become involved in deception, taking men away from salvation and into the snare of damnation. Astrologers adore and worship the sun and moon and all the stars of heaven by mistake. But are the stars meaning slavery? Probably people who actually help create modern slavery, but okay. It has been decreed that the bishops of the Council of Trent has been prepared to act diligently in order to censor books of judicial astrology. But judgments and natural practices which work for navigation, agriculture, or medical assistance are permitted. We have received authority and mandate against knowingly persons reading or retaining books and writings on astrology and divination, or in books which contain such things, and the investigation will proceed freely and lawfully to punish and coerce them with worthy penalties. This was the paper bull of 1586 by Sixtus V. What did that mean? It meant, oh yeah, we're going to call astrology bullshit, except in these areas right here. We're going to validate this. We're going to take everything, never mind all the other shit. It might be true, it might be right, but you know what? We're going to, we're going to say, no, it's not. That's bullshit, except, it only works for navigation, agriculture, medical, astrology and stuff like that. They're saying astrology was used and was improved and innovated with medical, the medical industry. That also goes into creating medicine and stuff like that. Like when you take certain medicines, you gotta take it at a certain part of the day, a certain part of the night. Time is a factor in medical practices and stuff like that too. They also are able to look at statistics when the busiest parts of the year with certain type of things go on and stuff like that. That's one. I didn't say no type of zodiac sign in that. Agriculture, the almanac, in navigation, compasses, GPS. So if people want to say astrology is bullshit, okay, fine, then stop using your GPS system then. I mean, the foundation of a lot of things we use is rooted in not just astrology, but time. And time operates on the movements of celestial bodies, and then we have astrology. It's like now we're trying to explain how babies are made. We're studying cycles, we're studying all these other type of things, but we want to, pick and choose what work and don't work, and we don't even want to do the work to try to falsify this information. And that's when I get a little bit like, I can no longer indulge in the conversation with you because you're trying to justify your bullshit, and it's objectively bullshit.
And this is I'm gonna read you a comment that like points out everything you just said. This person, you cannot generalize like that. You are claiming that everyone with those will get that certain medical problem, and that is simply false. Not true. You'd be famous if you could prove something like that, but you can't. That's called pop astrology, aka a scam that gives professional astrologers a bad name unduly. By doing so, you push people away from legitimate astrology. So this was my response. As stated in the post, this is how I mainly rectify the ascendant before I read the entire chart. Not that this is the entire reading itself. 8th house indicates wounds and death, and by extension, Scorpio and Pluto. There is no real distinction between a planet, its house, or its sign when actually tested during readings. Pluto in the 8th reads the same as the 8th house being Scorpio. And this is where I believe we fundamentally disagree. So yes, a generalization is made to get an idea of said ascendant sign because a full reading is given after. That is all I have to say. And what did this person respond? Oh, please, you're getting more absurd, just discrediting yourself. Enough. How do I respond to that? There was no actual disproving of any of the points that I just stated in the previous thing above. So I just give it a little, all right, you good. And left it alone at that. Because
flock of face.
Because if you're not going to go out of your way to test the method yourself to disprove it, I have no reason to argue with you. I laid out completely how I did it. Anyone in this chat who asked, well, how are you doing this? I told them, okay, you're going to have to use an equal house system like whole sign or equal house system to do it. And I walked them through it. But if you're just going to just proclaim I am a scammer when I lay out the method to specifically get these results, and you don't want to answer any of my questions, you're just going to say you're getting absurd, there's nothing I can say back to you. And these are people, yeah.
other words, I'm right because it made me feel better about my life, and you're
Right.
wrong, and I don't want to try to even find out if I'm wrong or not. So I'm going to say you're wrong because it makes me feel like I'm right. You know, I'm going to create my own bias. I don't even want to try.
And that's fundamentally how it is with most astrologers in the community right now. There's not a sense of really wanting to open or learn. And then these are astrology Facebook groups. You have to
Hello,
act.
you're in the group.
Yeah,
You're interested in astrology,
yeah,
and you come in and shit on other people, pretty much.
yeah,
Whereas like, oh, that's bullshit.
yeah.
So, like, my thing is, what I don't like, and I started to really understand shit like this, is that a lot of people are rooted in arguing. But you can argue, two things can be right at the same time. For example, there's a pen,
Hmm.
there's a pencil.
Hmm.
They both could exist
In the same place at the same time.
in the same place at the same time, okay? You know, we don't have to argue which one is going to, like, you know, they both function, they both, you know, so it's like, everybody just want to fucking argue, bro. And I got Mars and Gemini. I don't be trying to argue because it makes people. I got Mars, Gemini, and the 7, bro. Like it's gonna end up being smoke if you no, we're not doing that. No, let's have a discussion. Let's have some discourse about this. Let's not argue because I could be saying some shit that's right and you be saying some shit that's right. Just because you say something right doesn't necessarily mean what I'm saying is wrong. And just because, and guess what? We could both be wrong about some shit. We could be like, you know what? Well, goddamn. And then we could walk away and learn something. But everybody want to be the top G of intellect and be like, no, you got to be wrong so I could be right. I don't want to be wrong so you can't be right. Like, fuck out of here with that. Let's get to the point where we're growing from each other. I'm giving you some information, you give me some information. Now I could grow and correct myself. A lot of people, I don't like when people feel like they're beyond being corrected. That's like you be like, oh, I think that's really from being a child and probably not being heard or not being people overlooking what they say is correct because we know we do that shit with kids. Like, you know, even if you're right, shut your ass up. You know, this is a grown folks conversation. Even if you say something correct, it is non-avoidable violence. Superior. Like, oh yeah, I'm grown. Nobody could correct me. You know, I'm super duper right. I have trauma with, well, not me exactly, but like I got trauma with people invalidating me. So now I'm gonna validate myself, and everything else have to be no. And I'm the only one who actually say something about whatever. Nobody can correct me. I'm grown. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And that's really how it is, because at first I didn't necessarily believe that astrologers would do this. I didn't necessarily believe, but when I was in college and high school, I didn't believe that my teachers could be wrong either. I didn't believe that teachers couldn't be wrong. I didn't believe the authority figures could be wrong. I didn't believe scientists could be wrong. I've made over probably a year now, a little bit over a year now, I've made probably dozens of videos debunking astronomers, debunking all of these different people because of the exact same thing John is talking about. People don't want to be wrong. People want to continuously confirm or reaffirm their paradigm, their worldview, and they do not like to be tested. Even if you are making sense, they will cherry pick, turn, use any logical fallacy that they can to make it seem as if you are really not saying anything of use because I cannot be bothered to change. That's about, and that is the true state of like what the what really defines an astrologer to me is not necessarily the amount of years that you put into doing one particular brand of astrology. It's your openness to the science of applying astrology to all things, because literally astrology can be applied to anything you put your mind to it. It's the study of the universe. Basically, you can apply it to anything that you want.
I think some people, and I try not to be so abrasive, but you know, I got Mars and Gemini. That's what happened anyway. Some people are weak and fragile. Their realities are weak and fragile, and they really shy away from changes. And I think that's a component of the ego, where I identify myself with this reality as it is, and if anything come and change and interfere, then my existence is potentially threatened. Versus being a little bit brave about something and correcting things and improving. Some people are cool with just, a lot of people are cool just, staying where they at, functioning in dysfunction. Whereas like you have to, kind of challenge it, because when you challenge things, either things get better, things can get worse too. But like, the odds of correcting something, I don't know. I'm a gambit at that. So I would say in great times I demonstrate bravery.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know how to really keep my feet in a place where being fragile and weak is something I could get comfortable experiencing. I think a lot of people try to I think like either hide it or call it something else or make them feel better about being fragile and weak. Probably terrible choice of words, but I don't know how to drive it home any other way.
And that's especially when it comes towards people's psychological state. It's really fascinating what we, like people like me and John, will be able to do, and other astrologers, when we start actually applying the astrology to people's psychology. I know in particular there have been studies before that people have done on Mercury, on the planet Mercury, and depending on its rate of speed and movement, at the time you were born will determine how fast or how slow of a thinker you are. Like people have actually tested it before. I don't have the exact study with me. It's been a while since I've actually looked at it. But when people start applying people's rising signs and their sun signs and their placements in their chart to how they go about thinking, and put the data behind it to be like, okay, these type of people in these placements will think more in this realm versus these type of people in this placement will think more in that realm. It will make it so much clearer. Not necessarily, it will make it so much clearer to understand where or in what aspects particular people of particular signs will have their psychological biases, because we're all weak in some area. We all don't have 100% control over what we think or believe to a certain extent. But to know where exactly, or like how will it affect you, will better help you to be able to heal from it actively. I'll say it like that.
You say weak, right? I use weak in one sense where fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you say weak in that sense, I think a better term to actually contextualize that is deficient.
Deficient.
I have deficiencies. Now, weak is different from deficiency to me. You can still be deficient, but still have some type of bravery. You play to your strengths and you eliminate your deficiencies. But when I see that, I think some people could have fortitude in some sense, but still be weak. That's how I see. I think the better word for that is everybody has some deficiencies. Everybody isn't necessarily fragile, but some people have some shortcomings.
Mm.
And having deficiencies and shortcomings to me is different from being weak. Like weak is just like the slightest change in something overall just it's like being fickle. A lot of people are very fickle with other things, therefore they really are reluctant, because I guess people call it scarcity mindset. They want to protect what little that they have.
Yeah. And I guess what else can I say from that point too? Now I think we covered that. All right, let's talk about this now, because we brought it up earlier too. When it comes towards breaking down astrology into seasons, here's another thing that I realize that most astrologers do not play with, and is one of the most pivotal roles in understanding astrology. Majority of people do not understand the numbers in the chart. As in, when you go online, you put in your birthday information into astrology chart. Usually it'll bring up a wheel, and you'll see the symbols, see the planets, you'll see the signs, you'll see a house system. Depending on which one you use, you might see Placidus. Most websites use Placidus as the main one, and that's as far as they go. When it comes towards astrology, they go into the interpretation of it. Some of the most powerful indications of astrology is when you understand degrees, the numbers behind the chart. It's one thing to say you're a Gemini sun, but when you see a 15 and then you see a little circle right next to that 15, what does that mean?
Can I preference this real quick?
Yeah.
Not even like the numerology of the degrees and like 2 plus 0 equals 2, but 2 0, so it's out of 0, and it's like no, and like that's the Kabbalistic part of it. It plays some merit, but just like on like in that sense, on that surface level of it, it's just like what's the naked science of it? It's not like it was, let's add this together and multiply this and then me just no, we're not doing that. It's just like no, what these numbers indicate where it's at in on the spectrum. Now, what energy are we indicating? It's not like I don't like when people try to apply the numerology and stuff to every fucking thing. Not that it's not a thing, but like when we're looking at it from this sense, where it's like the I'll say the raw stuff of it. I don't necessarily think that the numerology part is necessarily the raw part of it. I think numerology give context to things, but we have to actually extract that information. We have to delineate so that we're looking at things on a very objective, we can say sterile level with the numbers, the math of it.
Because when it comes to divination sciences, let's go into that too. Because when you're starting out, you're not gonna know, and most people will not know the difference between astrology, numerology, tarot. Most of the people I know at my particular job, when they talk about astrology, they'll even ask me, "Oh, do you do tarot too?" And I'm just like, "No, I don't do tarot, but I know about it. I know about the 52 major arcana and the 72 in total. So 72 minus 52. I got a calculator right here. 72 minus 52, and the 20 minor arcana. When I used to, and this is my personal story of how I even got into astrology. Most people, when they actually get into astrology, they'll get in by reading a book first, or they'll get a reading. I'm a new age kid. I'm not a kid. I'm a young adult. I got in on the internet. I got in first by just Googling, oh, what does Mars and this sign mean, and reading articles on the internet, then watching astrologers on the YouTube break down in their tarot astrology session. But I was watching everything. I was watching Vedic astrologers, Western astrologers. I was just trying to figure out like how to read a chart, and for the life of me, I could not figure out how to make this planet in this sign in this house mean anything. I'm just like, how are you putting these words together to get what you want to do? And I'm the type of person, I have Mars and Geminis too, and that means learn quickly, learn fast, take a short method to gather information. So I'm just like, okay, how can I learn astrology as fast as possible without having to read through thousands of books to do it? So I'm like, okay, let's see if I can find somebody. Let me see if I can find a mentor to figure out how to teach me how to do it. This is just my personal story of how I did it. And when I was finding people on astrology who were doing astrology, everybody was talking about, again, how to interpret it, how to interpret the divination, the numbers, the tarot, and things like that too. So if I were to watch an astrologer's live stream and they were doing the tarot portion of it, I would see some discrepancies. I would see sometimes they would read the chart and give a description, and then when they would do the tarot, sometimes, not all the time, but they would give a different description than what the astrology reading gave them. So if they were talking about oh, Mars just went retrograde, for instance, in Leo, they might say, oh, you might have difficulty communicating with loved ones during this period of time because of the retrograde. And then they might flip a card and it's like something in reverse. Like it might be the nine of the pentacle, one of the pentacles. No, it wasn't even the pentacles. It would be like the hermit card reversed. and it would change the reading because we're like, oh, because the card said something now it's conflicting with what the astrology I'm saying. I'm like, shouldn't the cards naturally, play into the astrology? And other times too, where I would just try to focus on the tarot. If they were doing a mass tarot reading, like Gemini's this week, you should be able to go find love or whatever like that too. I'd go out after work, go to the mall, see, hey, who can I find in the area? You see one things like that, and it wouldn't work all the time either. So I'm just like, the astrology portion seems to work pretty clearly and specifically. The tarot part seems to vary on who's using the cards, who's playing the deck. To me, when I was looking at it, I'm like, there's too much variables. I personally, and this is hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. I'm a Virgo rising. People think Virgos are nitpicky. Yeah, they really are. They tend to be people who want accuracy. That is true too as well. So I wanted something more specific, something that I could use. So I'm just like, all right. When I started looking at the chart, the fast forward, I'm just like, what do these numbers mean, right? What do these numbers in the chart mean? I don't see anybody talking about these numbers. I don't see anybody talking about how did they even design the chart in the first place? Why is it a wheel? Like why is it a circle in the first place? Like what how did they go into like actually building this chart that everybody's using online when they search it up? I was going really deep with it. I felt like I was going taking like if astrology is already like breaking from the system and going into the matrix, it's like I'm already in the matrix. Now I'm taking the red pill again. Like the first part was taking the red pill to learn astrology. Now I'm in astrology. Now I want to take the red pill again to learn everything about what even made astrology come true. So that got me into the rabbit hole of thinking. And lo and behold, through one friend or another, I met my teacher, or both of our teachers, Ra Aku, and we learned cosmophysics to the varying levels. How much we both got it.
I'm an honorable mention COZMOPHYSICIAN. I gotta say that.
Okay, you gotta make that clear. I gotta make that clear too. I gotta make that clear too.
To dox me and be like, hey, you didn't.
Yeah, I gotta make that clear too. I am a student. I am for a fact a student. I have not graduated yet. I have not submitted my research paper to become a full-fledged cosmophysician. So I'm not gonna make no lies on that either. I'm calling it how it is.
I am an honorary student. I didn't complete the course. I was still smoking the motherfucker out.
He's actually met Ra. I haven't, never, not a day in my life. So there's so now that we got that clear, let's move on from that point. Basically, the reason why I went to that particular teacher, because he was talking about what I was looking for. What does the math mean in astrology and how does it apply? Because when it comes to astrology, when most people read it, they'll either read it in hindsight, as in something happened in reality. Now let's look back on the chart and interpret what it means. Or people will give personal readings, as in they'll read your chart and they'll tell you about your personality, your struggles, things of that nature and intent going on. I wanted to use astrology for the most controversial part of it. Can you use it to make predictions? Can you quote unquote do fortune telling, read the future, tell those things like that nature? Everybody who gets into astrology in the first place, once they get over the first barrier of its spookism or whatever, they'll be able to accept, okay, something happened to me in the past, can you read it for me? Or something's happening right now in my life, can you tell me where the transits are? People can do that just fine. That's not hard to accept. Most of the time, especially when I go in these Facebook groups, even people who claim to be astrologers themselves, as soon as you start talking about fortune telling or telling the future in that angle, now it gets very murky, because you know why? Most people don't know how to read accurately to get to the point where they can do that. And this is the part where I say we have an advantage on them. They tend to,
people be fretting and bullshitting. That's
people
what it
tend
is.
to suck when it comes to actual predicting. When it comes to astrology, they can look at a chart and tell you the transit going on in the moment, but when it comes towards progressing the chart or terms of being able to tell when something is going to happen related to the astrology, they can't do that. I wanted to get on that level because that is the level that me, John, and if you're watching me or you like the quality or type of astrology that I do, you like somebody who can tell you specifically to the day, all right, this is probably when some shit is going to happen regarding your sign. That's what I use it for. That is the most practical method for me. So
what we need to do, I'm going to cut you off. What we need to do as a people, or as individuals or collectively, we got to start recognizing people who do flips and know how to do front flips and back flips, and know there's between people who doing front flips and back flips and the people who look like they know how to do a backflip. They're really not doing the backflip. They just run. They kind of stop in the middle of it and go like, yeah. And try, like they're acting like it. Like, hold on, like nah. Like it's a lot of people who aren't proficient and they hide their proficiencies. They hide whether they hide their you know their they're proficient. They're not as proficient. They want to go out here and stunt like they're proficient, and they're really it says it talk about it in this book. This is nothing new. People out here really don't know what the fuck they doing. They out here, I mean, parading around like I'm really doing it. Like there's people who do backflips. There's people who look like they know how to do a backflip that really don't know how to do a backflip. And we need to really like start hurting some feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
Like to motivate them in a way.
To do better.
To be like, no, go back and go learn how to do some backflips. You can't do backflips with us right now. We're in the middle of doing backflips. You're not doing no backflips, so
people got to understand when it comes to astrology, there was a point in time where astrology and astronomy were one and the same. You weren't allowed to do astrology if you did not have a basic understanding of astronomy. Like if you did not understand where the sun was going to be at a certain time of day in a certain particular portion of the year, you weren't allowed to be an astrologer. Since the 70s in the pop culture era, where it's only was about the interpretations of the meanings and just recording what somebody wrote in a book, who recorded somebody else who wrote something in a book, who recorded somebody else who wrote something in a book. Nowhere in that time did people decide, all right, let me test what has actually been written in these books against actual reality.
I would speculate and say we in that phase when people are like rebirthing astrology, they was more so doing it's like they was doing the heavy lifting, and they was actually doing the sifting and deciphering between things and seeing what sticks and don't stick. So maybe they was more focused on actual utilization, but more so like let's chisel this art out and let's get what we need out of it, and put all the other shit to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're in a place where we actually are able to inherit that information, the accurate information, and what's been founded, and actually utilize it, falsifying and stuff like that. We have enough of a basis of stuff to actually start looking to see what type of research and results we could get out of it for people who want to say it's bullshit, and have the patience and time to genuinely go sit down and try to figure it out, to falsify it. And people who actually already have a notion of something going on, like a pattern in their family, saying, okay, my mom's a Libra, my dad's an Aquarius, and there's this family constellation going on. This person's birthday is around this time with this person's birthday, and these people have the birthdays on the same day and stuff like that. Every 5 or 7 years, what's the difference? Was 2 years, 4 years, 4 years, or every 2 years, every Mars cycle, baby's being born, or every 4 years, quarter of 12 years. Jupiter is making the aspect to natal Jupiter or something like that, or some type of, we need to get into taking the pasta, throwing it to the wall, see what stick.
That's really the next step for everybody. It's really like once you realize it on a larger scale. I don't necessarily have a problem when people say like, oh, in all of my years of doing astrology, when I encounter Geminis, they they tend to have XYZ traits or qualities. Like I understand when I see people on the internet how they do their readings. It's really just based on what they experience trial and error from doing actual readings. That in itself isn't bad. But the problem is they're not actually collecting data. Like I've met astrologers that will save the chart of every person that they've read, but they're not really taking the time to break it down to realize, oh, every time Mars is in this sign, or every time Venus is in this sign, or like every 4 years I run into this particular. There's a lot more, and I can say this. Once you start memorizing, not even memorizing, when you start looking into pattern recognition, basically, once you realize that the ancient people, the first people who ever used astrology, did use it for nature. They used it to see When would floods come? When would they have rain or agriculture? People talk about the Nile, the people from the Nile, people from ancient Africa. The Temple of Dendera. They have a whole astrological calendar wheel in that part of the world. You can go to ancient Mayan culture. They use astrology even predated before them. All of these ancient cultures were people who had time in their lives to be like, all right, every time, for example, the two easiest ones to look at are the sun and the moon. Every time the moon is in this position in the sky, because back in the day there was no pollution, there was no the extra stuff. Most of the time when you looked around the world or wherever that you were living, especially if you lived in Africa or these places near the equator, you could pretty much see the entire freaking sky. If you live further north or further south, you're not gonna be able to see the entire sky. But you got to think, these are ancient nomad people. You got to think of it this way. Every time they looked in the sky, because they had nothing else to do. They weren't on their phones. They were out here trying to go to the club, set out parties. They were just trying to survive. Anytime they had free time, they would look up in the sky and see, hey, every time this particular planet or this giant ball in the sky is in this particular area, these things on the land would happen. So after we're talking hundreds of years, thousands of years, they were able to put together, okay, there is a correlation between the placement of these celestial bodies and what is actually happening to us right here, right now. That is the lens you got to look at astrology from. Not that it's just these colors and lines on a screen. Not that, oh, you're Sagittarius, you're an Aries, you're da 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 da. No, you got to really apply it to your life around you. You got to understand it from that perspective. It's not something that is just bound to what's your sign or is bound to what you see on your computer screen. It is the world around you and how you perceive it.
Let me breathe real quick. Let me give some of this real quick. I'm gonna get this preface and part of this first chapter out real quick. It ain't gonna be long, but it speaks to that, right? There are certain things to say about humans that make getting to the facts not so easy. One is that the upright mammal will believe almost anything. It's funny. This is funny as shit because this is whew, okay. And stop me if I catch a bar. I'm bound to catch a bar.
Mm.
Okay. One is that this upright animal will believe almost anything, and this has been true since the beginning of recorded history through the present. Examples include belief in the power of supernatural gods and demons. Funny enough, that Jones was talking about demons. Okay, whatever. Confidence of an upcoming apocalypse and trust placed in countless bizarre medical remedies. We've come a long way since the origins of settled life. Yet, even today, a sizable number of Americans believe evidence-free political propaganda and conspiracy theories. One of which states that a secret cabal of Satan-worshipping, cannibalistic pedophiles composed of Democrats is running a global sex trafficking ring. Tell you this book got fired. All these beliefs were or are considered normal by the community that holds them. It appears that allegiance to irrational beliefs has survival value, probably because it serves to create tribal solidarity. When this unification by itself can be enough to negate obvious facts that disturb the status quo. Another trait of this species is that people automatically form hierarchies and establish rank in social situations. From a sports team to a nation state, this is accomplished using whatever differences are available between individuals, whether they be visual cues, genetics, preferences, ability, money, connections, or knowledge. These two traits, tribal beliefs and social rankings, have served to bind humans into larger groups that are better suited to survive the perils of the environment than just a few individuals. They are ancient and instinctive traits, and they continue to have a powerful influence on what we do or don't do, including the hard work of getting to the facts and determining what is real and what isn't.
That right there.
In this book, I'm attempting to loosen up the grip that tribal beliefs and the power of high-ranking individuals have on a controversial subject, one that is almost always labeled as fantastic, irrational, and surely wrong-headed by the culture-sanctioned thought police. The subject is astrology. A balanced understanding of the subject is very hard to come by, and there is nothing in the educational systems or of our culture that encourage anything other than learning how to suppress the subject further. At the same time, many practitioners of astrology project a vision of the subject that doesn't hold up to scrutiny and discourages investigation. We just now talked about them type of motherfuckers. So when it comes to assessing the fact of what is a truly complex matter, it comes down to finding sources of legitimate information. If you don't look in the right places, you don't know, and that's where things have been for centuries, and they still are. In addressing what I also perceive to be an injustice, a wide range of information, some of it technical, needs to be explored to make up for centuries of ignorance, misunderstanding, and knee-jerking dismissal. My hope is that some readers will come to the conclusion that many who claim to know exactly what this subject is, including both critics and some who call themselves astrologers, don't know what they are talking about. Long dramatic pause.
Yep.
Stare at the camera. Okay. Real learning takes place when a deep understanding of the issues, not motivational bias, or what we want to believe. Let me look at motivational bias up on this wall real quick. Do we got motivational bias up here? We don't. We'll look at that some other time. Motivational bias. We can say confirmation bias. Okay, whatever. Prestige judgment. Real learning takes place when a deep understanding of issues, not motivational bias or what we want to believe, prestige judgment. Supplying information for that deeper understanding is one of my goals in this book. General overview, blah, blah, blah. We can skip some of this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to just go over some highlight stuff. Since the 17th century, the preferred method of science has become mechanistic and reductionist in the context of materialist metaphysics. In this version of science, which includes methodologies of falsification and checks of data against hypotheses, the part of something being studied are isolated, tested, measured, and explained in terms of mechanism. Later on, he gets into the way people were thinking prior to the adoption of this way of thinking, which makes so much more sense about how astrology really works. If you change the methods and means of what's considered science and things like that, you kind of throw away a few things. So, in contrast to this system of thinking, a way of doing science that approaches phenomena like weather and climate systems, organisms, mind, personality, consciousness, and society from a broader perspective. Hence, the dynamic properties of a system in its entirety, or in other words, the sum of connections, patterns, feedback loops, and emergent properties which resist reduction are the starting point in a scientific investigation. This more general and process-oriented approach to knowledge is multidisciplinary and is practiced in some branches of engineering and astrology, and also ecology and organistic.
All right, you read a lot. Trust me, they got it.
Yeah,
Show them
and
the book again. Show them the book again so they know they get it.
Yeah. So boom. I don't wanna take the whole book and put it on this stream, but the field of astrology studies a type of environmental signaling, and that is actually a kind of system science, or at least a set of techniques for mapping including temporal trajectories and analyzing self-organizing systems. In that sense, it has the potential to contribute towards a more inclusive scientific program. That's just a preface.
That's what I knew he was reading from the previous. I'm like, that sounds like it's really summing up the book.
Yeah.
Beginning of a book.
Yeah, and it's a lot more. I don't want to over the what you call it, saturate this what you call it with this book, because this book got 400 something pages.
And it's crazy how a lot of the things we've been talking about over this past hour was in the preface of that book to let you see it's not like we know what we're talking about. Like, I've never read that book, but like from our conversations, you could say, if you're somebody watching this, you could tell that we know what we're talking about if
We
our
recognize
thoughts.
what the fuck we looking at, and we trying to tell y'all what we looking at, and y'all are like, like, both fucking book. We know what the fuck we dealing with. We try, don't deny our experiences, saying what's going on, what's not going on. Come falsify that shit so we can be okay. Like, oh, like we need to have some type of benchmark. You know, we don't have no fucking standards, dog.
Should be for a fact benchmarked 100%. And for us in particular, this is a skill. This is a skill. People got to realize too. Anybody that says they're gonna learn astrology in a week, good luck. That ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
This is basically, again, I'm gonna say it, this is a study of basically the entire universe. You in one lifetime will not capture everything that they'll need to be known to learn astrology. This is why you don't go and attack somebody else's view on astrology. You debunk it if it really doesn't work. You debunk it. If somebody has a closed method system, but they tell you if you do this, and this, you will get this result. As long as you get that result following their method, that method works. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I know every single thing that comes to astrology there is right here, right now, even out there. There could be some astrologer, some 80, 90-year-old astrologer, one of these Facebook books that come here one day and be like, actually, if you did this instead, and completely clap my method. He could probably predict something to the millisecond. Who knows, right? You don't know. But if you're out here and you let your biases immediately beat you over the head, that's not how you learn. That's not how you learn.
You do yourself a disservice.
Yeah, you don't learn that way. Come on now, you don't learn that way. That's not gonna help you in any way, shape, or form. That's a surefire method to stunt your growth. That's to stunt yourself, and that's what I'm saying. You gotta be and this is whether you get a reading from me, John, or whoever. If you go to an astrologer and they tell you like this is exactly what's gonna happen in your life, as in they know what's gonna happen, they bullshitting you. They're reading the chart just like we are.
I say this intention to be offensive. And you look like a dickhead.
Yeah.
In a statement. Our goal is to, well, at least one of my goals. I don't want to say our goals, but one of my goals is to reduce the likeness of astrologers ending up looking like dickheads.
And the beauty of this science is it's only ever evolving as technology advances and more individuals get the ability to.
It's a life science.
Yeah.
It's a growing thing. Like, new things happen and new things are invented. People are creative, so it's like a button of things where I think about Joe Button. Shit. Things flourish from out, and we have to. We're in we're like Adam at the in the Bible. You still have to name and categorize things and see what's what. You know, you gotta be able to contrast and make discernment between things, stuff like that. So astrology is not really something that's static. You don't just get it once you got it. That's not how it works, you know.
And it's crazy too, because people got to realize, like, when it comes towards astrology, when it comes towards the idea of God or a creator or something, you cannot force an outcome. Like, for example, you may ask astrologer a question like, oh, when am I going to find my loved one? We can at best give you the range of time where you could potentially find that loved one. We could probably tell you within these particular years you should fall into a relationship. Is that going to be your one and only? Is that going to be your person? We can't tell you that. Trust me, if we had that ability, you think we'd be here right now? We'd already be conquering the world. But you got to look at astrology this way too. That's something you got to use astrology with your world around you. Let's say you had a coupon book, right? You had a coupon book for whatever you need to get, your meat, your cheese, your bread, your water, whatever the case you're going to get from the store, right? You could walk in with that coupon book and save about like $30. Or you could walk into that store with absolutely no coupon book at all. You're still going to be able to buy those things. It's just going to cost you more. Astrology is really like, it's like a timer. It's really able to get you, oh, there's a deal, there's a discount coming up. Me telling you in 1 year, you're going to have a transit in with your Venus, and it's going to be trine your sun, and it's going to be trine trine your sun, and it's going to be trine Mars. You're going to find the man of your dreams, right? Things of that nature intent too. At the end of the day, if you don't got your life together, you don't got your stuff in order, You're looking crazy. You're looking for drug dealers, for instance, bums on the street. Even when you get to that point in time, life doesn't just kind of, throw all that shit out to the side for it to come your way. No, you got to prepare. You got to prepare. The
Listen,
best way to make something potentially go in your favor, you got to, there's no matter what field of life you're doing, if you don't prepare for what you want, by the time you're going to get it, you're going to fuck up the bag. That's just the end story.
let me go right here with it, bro. Some people be, I don't know why people don't be thinking, but some shit you have to be able to qualify for. If you don't qualify, why are you looking for it? Yeah, like these outcomes that we're looking for, they become unrealistic. Like when you don't keep in mind that, like, nigga, you don't qualify. You ain't gonna happen because you don't qualify. You ain't do the work. You expect to be getting muscles and you're not even working out. That's not how it works. Like astrology is so subjective and circumstantial. So the likeness of the odds of things is the result of like how you live your life. The whole thing about free will and stuff like that, and people saying that, oh, you can't have astrology and free will. Yes, the fuck you can. You definitely can. Is this all a simulation or this all free will? It's low key both.
It's both.
Because if
100%.
you were dead and you never was alive, because we all are specks in time, the universe don't fucking need us. God don't need us. Nature don't need us. If I if I'm in the middle of my backyard and I have a heart attack and I die and nobody come get me, the world might be, I would contribute probably something else physically. Like shit would go on. Like people so arrogant to think that things like
Revolve around them, basically.
yeah, like our free will is shaking the earth or some shit. Like our free will is kind of very minuscule in all this. You can have all the free will you can, but it's very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. It's not about to stop the sun from coming up. It's not about to stop birds from flocking, unless you're like doing some type of weird pollutant shit or whatever evil genius shit. But nah, your free will could work perfectly fine with astrology. In fact, it's an amplifier or a tool for free will. And it doesn't even what I was saying. What's the word? Contradict God.
Yeah, doesn't.
Because nothing is moving outside of God. God moves through us, and I think people's paradigm for reality is so different that everybody have a different disposition about God and how things work and stuff. I don't even like using the word God for real because that's a German word.
Yeah.
And what we're studying and what we're doing, it's not sufficient for what we're trying to articulate.
Trying to be articulate for effect.
Yeah, you're not about to play religious games and shit like that. Like I was telling you earlier, Arabic and Hebrew are linguistically related. I say salam, I say shalom, same thing. And the books are saying the same thing, and everything is extracted from basically the same thing. If you all had different gods or whatever you're trying to articulate, whatever like that. Like I said earlier, if we all have the same almighty, all, I'm just using the word all smart. Okay, if there's one, we would probably be in different dimensions, like different realities. So it ain't no way everybody arguing about gods and whose God's better. Listen, God's a G like it is, like whatever, we will be in different universes, but we're not. So like the shit blows me, but. Nah, man. All God, free will, and astrology could all. It's just I don't think people don't have the paradigm or the mental tools to conceptualize all that can run concurrently
in the same span of existence. Here's how I see it too, because I didn't even need to ask John how he viewed it. That's what I'm saying. Once you get it, you kind of establish the same way of doing it. For me, when it comes towards like the idea of God and the idea of free will, like let's talk about free will first, right? In the grand scheme of everything, do you have free will? No. But let me say this too. You don't need, as an individual human, I don't need to be able to track the sun for 5 million years. You know what I'm saying? Like I could, like, let me break it down this way, because people talking outside and it's messing with my brain. So I'm trying to like make it work properly. When it comes towards free will, me as an individual, I don't know everything. I will never know everything. As far as I'm concerned, every individual on the face of this planet relatively knows as much as I know. All I need to know is I bleed just like you bleed. I get hurt just like you get hurt. I shit just like you get shit. I'm gonna die one day just like you gonna die one day. In that,
You all need to stare at some sharp objects and height.
and it's like, it's basic little things like that. Like, you don't necessarily need to know everything. Your free will exists in the fact that you, as of right here, right now, don't know what's gonna happen in the next 5 seconds. You are living and moving through this reality right now as you're doing it. This perception, this awareness that we have that we are doing things in the moment in itself is free will. You existing right here right now, speaking right here right now, is the free will. When you try to get into like, well, the esoteric, why do we speak this way, why do we do things like that? Well, we create tools like astrology to help us figure that out, to help us discern it. But that part is the subjective part. The entirety, the totality of what we're doing right now is the free will in my book. And at the same token, do we have free will in the grand scheme of everything? No, we don't need to. I don't need to have free will in the scheme of the universe. I'm a dot.
That would mean that we don't have limits and stuff like that too. We make decisions and confines of limits. Like limits, like we're limited. Like, how high can you jump? All right, free will your ass to jump twice as high then. It might and do it at the drop of a dime. Might probably do it in a few weeks, a few months if you exercise that determination, but you're also still working within limits. So no, again.
And it's like people again, another thing people get fucked up. There's a difference between believing in yourself and manifestation. Everybody can manifest things within reason.
I fucking hate the word manifestation.
Everybody can manifest things within reason.
You gotta
I cannot manifest wings out my back right now and fly the fuck away. No, there's that level of manifest. Give me a second. So it's like, when it comes, sorry about that, everybody. When it comes towards manifestation, do I do it too? Yeah, I do. I sit in my room and I'm like, all right, I believe I can make $1 million. So what do? I believe it. Therefore, I put in the work. I'll put myself in areas. I'll remind myself of books. I got books right here. Let me just get some motivational books. I got tons of motivational books that I be audio booking from time to time to get me in order. Yes, use that stuff and use it on a daily basis. That's a part of life. That's a part of your reality. That's what I'm saying. When you think of astrology, keep it real. Keep it in reason. Do not separate the astrology or think it's something different from what you're doing right now. It is only when you go out of your way to say, I can manifest anything I want. No, you can't. No, you can't. Even if I say I want $1 million in the next 5 seconds, no matter what the fuck I do, if I'm not already in a situation where somebody's about to give me $1 million, I'm not gonna get that money. You know what I'm saying? Things take time. Things take time. Make it real. That's it.
That's the emphasis. Time. I fucking hate when people use the word manifest in the wrong context. Like, shit. Where's my let me see if I can try to find something. Because I wrote about it. I fucking dislike it so much. I did my fucking research on it. That's the right one. Got the definition of it somewhere. People, I thought studying this stuff, what, 10, 12 years and stuff, it kind of had me like, it's not the most, it's not the most pleasant sometimes talking to people who are like at the very entry level of things, because like I don't want to come off like I'm or whatever or anything like that, but it's like I'm trying to give you college level information and you're in the second grade, we're just not compatible in conversation. You're not gonna. I start talking about trigonometry or some shit like that. It's not that you're stupid. You don't understand. You don't have the components to actually even retain what I'm giving you. Unless like we sit there for a while, and I low key have like I'm working on learning how to explain things to people in a way or manner. But some of this stuff, it's so dense, and it don't pop off like that. I'm trying to find this. So I know that the definition of manifest means to make apparent.
Mm.
You know, and I think people mistake like it to be like some abracadabra, something out of nothing kind of thing, and it don't work like that. We're confined to time. Like this dimension, time and space thing. What I mean, the blood juice of it is time. You know, that's kind of like what thread all this shit together. And people want to freaking manifest. Like people want outcome, but don't want to do any work about it. They just think they can just sit there and shit just happen. That's the behavior of a broke motherfucker. You sit in the house and think some shit gonna happen. You just like, well, it's just gonna happen. It's just gonna manifest. It's not how this shit works. People have their techniques of what they do and all that other stuff, and if it worked, let me know what and how it works so I could do that shit too. I ain't no hater, but until then, for the last time I checked, you gotta get up and go do some shit. Manifestation is an action. It's not like a hope kind of thing where it's just like, oh, you just gotta believe. Oh, you just gotta believe. Yeah, okay.
Because when you think of astrology, Pisces is manifestation. What's the sign that comes after Pisces? Aries, which is action.
And that's what kills. So that's what undoes belief. Everybody like that's the one thing you want to test your beliefs, go act on it. See what goes on, you know. But on the other side of fear is action. You know what I mean? A lot of people, I don't think a lot of people are as active as they put on to be.
Mm-mm.
If they did, they'll have different results. You know, and I'm not the one to say what people aren't doing, what they're not doing. But I am the type to like, hey, let's look at these results real quick. Okay, we want to check the work. I'm a Virgo like that. So, if it works, shit, put me on this. Shit, I ain't no hater. If this shit don't work, let's see what we can do to improve it to make it work. I think I got the type of spirit enough to be like, let's correct this so you could get put on. And perhaps maybe I can learn how to do some shit throughout the way. But we're not going to do is sit here and look at this shit not work and
And
be
push it to be true. Like, no.
and be mad. I'm telling you, it's not working. Like, motherfucker, it's not working.
Because there's two sides to every sign. There's the good aspects and the bad aspect. But your faith can lead to you doing action, but your fear could inhibit you. And they both pointed to by the same sign, same sign. And again, I need to stress this point because I really feel it's people's thinking and how they apply the astrology that's really like limiting them. When you apply the astrology to your actual everyday life, when you try to actually apply it to what's going on, and you could see the wheel in your head as you spin it, that's the penultimate way you naturally become more aware of what's going on around you. You start to look at things from a different perspective than how you see them before. You don't look at things the same, and that's the beauty of astrology too. Belief is undone by knowledge, or spookism is undone by knowledge, and astrology undoes religious dogma that keeps people locked away in the things that they do. Because astrology is detachment. It's the ability to separate yourself from a situation and be consciously aware, like, okay, I know why this is happening. I know what is going on right now. And it just helps you. I'm not going to say astrology gets you out of situations. I'm not going to necessarily say that. It's really more when situations happens. One, when they come in, and two, when it happens, you have more of a sense of, okay, I can handle it. Like, it doesn't hit as hard. It makes it better, even though you're still going through whatever you're going through. That's yeah. I think that's about it. That's all I gotta say on that particular topic. Because we ran it through. We most definitely, when it comes to manifestation, now y'all know how to think about that. I don't want to hear nobody in this comment section about da 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 da. I can manifest whatever. I'm just gonna ignore people like that from now on, because it's just like it's rather you gonna learn or you not in the story.
You can manifest, but where your receipts at? What's your method? And like, okay, how does that shit function? You know, what's the function of your manifestation technique? You know, I think because I'm a Virgo, I want to know how that shit function. I mean, if that shit not functioning, that's not even say, you know, that's even a reliable thing to do. There's other means and ways of getting the things you want, stuff like that. But we throw around manifestation, like manifestation will end up being one of those words. Is like it's an empty, hollow meaning because it's like it's just like someone who prays wrong. You know, how do you pray wrong? Well, you know, gotta get the attention of God or whatever. You know, some people they bow, they sit their knees or whatever like that. You know, you go into the inbox or you go ahead and you like in the Old Testament, you do a little barbecue, you cook something for God, and God go and God is compelled to pay attention to you. You know, or you just pray wrong, like you just say some type of obscenity in the air. Oh, I hope I don't miss the bus, or some shit like that. I don't think that people understand method. Method plays a lot. You know, it plays a lot in astrology. It plays a lot in free will. Plays a part in manifestation. And I think people they just I think a lot of people get information from ill-informed people and charlatans, and which is Pisces, and I think that does a disservice to things, even manifestation, because it was a thing at one time. But when you see it, and it's like it's it, you know, people it just takes a sting out of it a little bit. Like people, it gets less of a meaning, I guess. If that makes sense.
And yeah, I agree with that. And let's see. Besides that, that was I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover in this arc.
Yeah, for real. I got man. I want to finish getting through this book because the other part into it is like the shift in mindset that
Mm.
people don't even know that they're subjected to. For real, the way like astrology was looked at for home. That's going to be probably another stream or something.
Yeah.
Maybe if you up to it, I go through these bars because the way we see it and the way people are functioning with it is just as bad with people not understanding manifestation. You know.
How to do it properly too, and not understanding also persuasion and how your environment around you persuade you to do things all the time. Like, so, and people don't understand the limited amount of willpower that they have. All this, everything going. I feel like next stream that we should do is really talk about like the water signs and how they all connected to each other, from your belief to the level of persuasion to your culture, how all of those things subconsciously affect your actions that come from it and things of that nature tend to. Yeah, damn. But I say, for my closing words, for everything that we said with this, I'm gonna say, keep your mind open to astrology. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Realize this is real life. Try to apply it to your real life. It's gonna do best for you. What you gotta say?
Um, don't try to look cool, acting like you know what you're doing, and actually do what you're doing. You know, put the work in. Everybody want to look like everybody want to look like no. I'm stuttering and shit. Everybody want to look cool, but the people who actually do the work don't necessarily look cool because they're working. You know? So nah, y'all go do some work. do
Go
some
fact.
bring
Go
back
fuck.
some bring back some receipts, and even talk about how you were wrong. Let's start talking about let's have a conversation about that, about results and corrected information and stuff like that.
Yeah. If y'all can see the screen, go follow him right here. St. Johnny. Go follow him on Instagram. Go hit him up, especially if you need a barber cut. You live in the local area, he got you with that.
Yeah, if you're
If
in
you are,
the DMV, come holler at me.
if you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook, Chris Desir. You could join my Astrology Universe group there. And yeah, I guess we're gonna see y'all next time.